What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks, PHLY. Why? Happy Friday morning. If you're watching live, shout out to all of our 8 a.m.ers. Watch live, good morning to all of our usuals. A little bit late getting started today. At some point, I connected my power cord to my laptop, and I run everything through the laptop here at the home studio. And I don't know if my Mac's ever done an automated, like an update just out of it. All of a sudden it come down and it's like, well, what's it doing? And I'm like, oh, it's updating. And it's like, gives me the 11 minutes remaining. And I text Tyler. I'm like, hey, I don't think we're going to make it on the air on time, but we got on. The laptop's working. The camera's working. That's all that matters. Today, we're going to have a football segment. 8:25, Football Friday. You can see I'm wearing my Eagle sweatshirt today. Football Friday, second block of the program. Block B, we will do some over-unders in the NFL and some other betting odds courtesy of the BetParks app, which, by the way, sponsors Philly with John Marks on PHLY. Get to the BetParks app and we'll go over some NFL stuff. Phillies and the Blue Jays, they start a series coming up tonight, tomorrow, and then Sunday. Naturally, I have tickets for tomorrow where it's going to be kind of drizzly and wet. The game's going to get on, but I hope there's no rain delays because I have a 3 soon-to-be 4-year-old that would not be fun to sit through extensive rain delays. So it's hopefully I'm not sitting in the rain most of the day, but it's not going to be a warm day tomorrow. It's going to be, I think, a high of 73. But as long as they can get the game in and we can watch the game, I'll be happy. Anyway, let's start with the 76ers and man. So we have the draft coming up here is it the 25th? It's really right around the corner, and steam is really it's full steam ahead right now with the rumors and the innuendos and things like that. And if it was as simple as the Sixers saying, hey, we like this player at 3. We're going to stay at 3. We're going to take Ace Bailey at 3. We're going to take VJ Edgecombe at 3. Then this would be boring, and we wouldn't even be talking about it. That's not what's happening. And there has been some reporting and some rumors about the Sixers and the Spurs discussing potentially the Sixers moving up to number 2. And our own Kyle Neubeck, and it's up there on the site right now, allphly.com, writes the following yesterday. With less than 2 weeks to go before the 2025 NBA draft kicks off, the Sixers are at the heart of a ton of meaningful conversations around the league, including the potential for a trade up to the number 2 slot in the draft, an idea that is gaining some steam as of Thursday afternoon. A league source confirmed to PHLY on Thursday that the Sixers have talked with San Antonio about a move up in the draft order, which Michael Scotto reported for Hoops Hype on Thursday morning. So Michael Scotto reported it, and then Kyle probably got a hold of some of his sources, and they confirmed, Sixers and Spurs have talked. Now, he did go on to say that he believes the most likely thing to happen is that they stay at 3 and they select a player, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a chance. So let's think about this for a second, right? Why would the Spurs want to move away from 2 and potentially trade down 1 spot to the 76ers? Well, it would be that Dylan Harper, who is the consensus second pick of the draft. Everybody says the Sixers the draft really starts at 3. Well, maybe not. So, and doing some reading and looking at the rosters and things like that, the thought is the Spurs that Dylan Harper doesn't fit with the players that they have. And that's why they would want to make a trade. And I call BS on that. Because if you believe in the player, then you make it work and you move other players. Because you're talking about a guy that's relatively inexpensive being on a rookie deal coming in, and he's young, right? So if you're going to tell me that Aaron Fox is like, oh, well, we don't want to do that because of this player. No, BS, right? It would be because the Spurs look at a player, maybe it's Ace Bailey, and said, that's the guy, but we know the Sixers probably don't want to draft him. And what can we get? This is a lot like Brian Colangelo and Danny Ainge with the Celtics. The Celtics were going to take Jason Tatum. They realized that Brian Colangelo is a boob and he wanted Markelle Fultz. So they were able to get, ultimately ended up being a first-round draft pick, and it was a mid-first-round draft pick. It wasn't the lottery pick that a lot of people had feared it was going to be. But Sixers move up to 1. They get their player. The Celtics still very comfortably get their player at number 3, and they add a first-round draft pick. Doesn't it feel like the same thing with the Spurs? If the Spurs were to say, hey, yeah, we'll trade back with you, it means that they don't want Dylan Harper. That's what it means, because number 1 who's going number 1. There's no doubt about that. It's Cooper Flagg. It means the Spurs are interested in a different player. And the Sixers say, hey, we'll take Dylan Harper. So what are you going to give up? And there's been a lot of talk about, well, would you give this guy up? Would you give that guy up? Jared McCain, would you trade him to move up one spot? You're not going to do that. I don't think you're going to need to do that, because the Spurs, right? It'd be one thing if they were willing to trade back to 7 or to 6 or move back further in the first round, and then they could give, oh, yeah, well, you're going to have to give us a lot. But then they're not getting the player they want if they move back to 5 or 6 or 7. So they want the player that they want, and they want to get a little something extra. So the idea that, well, if the Sixers don't make the trade, well, then somebody else is going to do it. What are they going to give up to move up to number 2? I mean, I guess it's more than possible, considering that maybe if they're adding this player into a trade to move up to number 3, that doesn't seem likely. It seems that the Spurs want to draft a player. It's just that they think that they know that they can get him at 3 if they swap with the Sixers. That's why they would move back. So if that's the case, hey, don't you have to do a little bit of thinking and saying, like, all right, like, they probably want Ace Bailey. They look at the high upside and say, yeah, we'll get him in our program, and we'll develop him into the player that we want him to be. Maybe this is all BS, and they're going to take Dylan Harper at 2, and the Sixers are, I don't know. But just the fact that they're discussing things, by the way, having a conversation with San Antonio, like as Kyle said, that the Sixers have talked with San Antonio about a move up in the draft order. Well, of course they've talked to San Antonio. Of course they have. These GMs have conversations all the time. So a source confirming that Kyle, an original reporter, saying, like, yeah, the Sixers and the Spurs have talked about it. That doesn't mean squat. And I'm not downplaying anything that Kyle said or reported, because it could be notable. It could be nothing. It could be like, yeah, they talked, but ultimately the Spurs should be talking to other teams. Who knows what they could get, right? So I still think the most likely scenario of happening are the Sixers staying at 3 and drafting VJ Edgecombe. That's just the feel for me right now, is that that's what they're going to do. Maybe I'm off and they take Ace Bailey. I don't think that they're moving back. I think that they could move up, but ultimately I think the most likely scenario is they're staying at 3, and the most likely player they're taking based on the feel for everything right now is Edgecombe. But it is interesting, because if they could get up to number 2 and they can get a legitimate true point guard, some people would say, like, oh, well, now you have a logjam of guards. Listen, I'm not worried about that right now. I love the idea of getting a true point guard to play with Maxey, who clearly was at his best playing off of the ball. He can be a combo guard. He can play some point guard over the course of a game. Remember what he looked like with James Harden? James Harden setting things up, him working off of him. So I like, again, not the biggest Daryl Morey fan in the world. I have confidence in Daryl to navigate this process and to get the player that they want. And if that means they're giving up additional draft pick to move up to 2 to get him, awesome. Because that's what they have. They have a pick swap from the James Harden trade, and they have a first-round draft pick from the Clippers from the James Harden trade in 2028. And the pick swap's in 2030, I think. Who knows what the Clippers are going to look like by then? So that could be, it could be a valuable pick. So, by the way, the portion of this program brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. You could text them, 610-980-4000. To me, this is all good news, and having that third pick is crucial right now, because the draft really does start at 3, and if you can move up to 2, that would be fantastic. All right, Tyler Zurley, before we pivot here, Pat Egan's going to join us, by the way, like 8 8:45, so block C if you're watching live 30 minutes from now. So don't go anywhere. We have a bunch of stuff to talk to him. Good morning, Tyler. So yesterday I asked you for feel on the situation with the 76ers, and with new information, new reporting, what's your feel for what was reported by Kyle yesterday?
Yeah, the other thing that I think people might need to consider is that this may not just be a two-team trade. There is a potential of a third team getting involved, and that third team potentially being the Phoenix Suns. And I do think there is validity to the Spurs wanting to acquire Kevin Durant to pair him with Wemby. And I don't know how much that's going to cost. I don't know what the value of that trade is. I believe Kevin Durant has 2 years left on his deal, if I remember. If I'm correct, I'll check that in just a moment. But there is a possibility that it could turn into a 3-team trade that ends up netting the Spurs Kevin Durant and the Sixers finding their way to 2 in a move that, of course, would have to facilitate a Paul George contract and number 3. There's a lot of moving parts to that particular conversation, but I wouldn't rule it out. I think Kyle brought it up in his story about the potential of them wanting Durant, pairing him with Wemby. Again, I don't know what the value of a Durant would be on a draft night because of his contract and because of the fact that he's 37 years old. But I do think there may be a piece of conversation in there that does include a third team, and that third team being the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to trade the second overall pick for Durant, that would be nuts, in my opinion. And I think Durant can still help a team, but you're talking about a team that's essentially not rebuilding, but they're trying to take that next step. They win in a title with Kevin Durant. I mean, no, but there is interest. There's obvious interest out there, and Durant's interested too.
The best thing that could happen for the Sixers, the absolute best thing that could happen for the Sixers, is the Spurs say, we want Ace Bailey. Because if the Spurs want Ace Bailey, you run to the podium for Dylan Harper, and you figure out your guard situation later, whether it be, McCain's coming off the bench, which is the likely scenario. Like you said, it would be Harper and Maxey as your backcourt, and McCain off the bench, and you can figure out what you want to do with Quentin Grimes. But I think the absolute easiest path to figuring this whole thing out in terms of the draft situation is the Spurs. Adam Silver comes up to the stage and says, with the second overall pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Ace Bailey, Rutgers University. Because then 30 seconds later, he should go back to the podium and say the Philadelphia 76ers select Dylan Harper. Right. So that's the easiest solution to this. I don't think it happens. I just think in some way the Spurs still end up, or whomever's picking it to ends up with Dylan Harper. But I think if there's a trade that gets facilitated with the Sixers, I just think there's a third team involved in some capacity.
It's a good spot to be in if you're the 76ers. Because you hold the pick, the Spurs can try to milk it. That's the thing. Right now, is this just because that would be the most obvious thing is they want Ace Bailey. They think he is the best pick for them. And it's a matter of, okay, all right, you going to give us that first round draft pick from the Clippers?
Sure.
Right. And is it worth it at that point to do it, to get your player?
And I will say this, we talked about this yesterday. If the board falls like it's supposed to, if it does go Flag and then Harper, if I were running the Sixers, I still would take Ace Bailey. I understand that, does he help you immediately? Maybe not to the capacity you're hoping a number 3 pick does, but I think his ceiling is so freaking high. If he reaches full potential, this kid's going to be a star. I do think there is a wide discrepancy between ceiling and floor with him, and that's a fair statement to make. And it may take him some time to, fill out and build into his body a little bit because he's 6'10". Was he 19 years old? Does he play 25 minutes a night right away? Maybe not immediately, but I just think that if you have the opportunity to take a guy like that, I still would. I just, if you're asking me who I think is potentially the better player, it's Dylan Harper.
Yeah, it's safer. Ace Bailey might end up being, when you look back, it's all right, you have Cooper Flag and he's a great player, but Ace Bailey is the guy, right? He's the sizzle. He's the wow. We talked about upside. This kid has it. He could also be he also could be traded it was third or fourth year because the worry about some of the things, the bad shots and the lack of development and things like that. But if you're an organization like the Spurs and Greg Popovich, and he's in poor health now, or his health has deteriorated, and listen, like is he 80? Greg Popovich, or like close to it, if not. Like you've established a culture. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, he's 76. You've developed the culture and you believe in the culture, right? But with Popovich and his health, you're hoping that the people that are in your organization are like, they're just now taking that and it's been established. Like with the Eagles have been established, and it's not about the head coach. And Nick Sirianni's done a fantastic job. Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, it starts with them. They hire the right guys. They hire the right coordinators, and they have an Eagles way of doing things. It's kind of weird to say, but it's true. To where if Nick Sirianni wasn't here, I'm not saying that the Eagles would be better off, but you have confidence that the organization's going to hire a good coach and they know what they're doing. You would think the same thing with the Spurs, sure. but it doesn't mean that it would work here. It doesn't mean that that's the type of player that you want to get here. So it'll be interesting to see how the next couple of weeks play. Because guess what, Tyler? This isn't going to be the last rumor about what the 76ers intend to do. And it's great. It's like when you have a pick that matters in the NFL draft. You can't rumor here, rumor there.
Sure.
This is awesome. I
mean, I remember, starting to kind of really tune into sports talk radio. And I remember you guys doing the do the deal, right? The Marcus Mariota.
Holy crap.
For months. I mean, for months that was conversation. And so you're right. And especially too, like with the Sixers specifically, when you're in the NFL, if you're picking 2 or 3, like the likelihood is you are a bad team.
Right.
And, the Eagles, when they moved up to get Carson Wentz, they moved a couple of times and they were an okay team, but they moved up to 2. The Sixers, theoretically, when healthy, should be a good team. Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, like, you know what I mean? Like they missed a lot.
They're not the third worst team.
Right, they're not the third worst team in the league.
Right.
So you have an opportunity at hand, like we talked about yesterday. You didn't expect to happen. So there's a lot of intrigue. There's going to be a lot of smoke. It's like, which trail do you follow, and which one ends up being the right one? So to me, like, this is such an interesting time for the Sixers where they could. I'm not going to say like change the course of how things are trending, because obviously Joel Embiid's health is number 1. Paul George, does he bounce back? Number 2. Tyrese Maxey is number 3. This is probably number 4. But like, it's such an interesting time for the Sixers because they're really realistically, they should not be in this situation. If they played the way that they should have played all year, and that obviously requires them being healthy, which you can't foresee. If they were healthy and played the way that they should have played all year, the Thunder would be making this pick at 20 or 22. You know what I mean? So it's such an interesting time to be the Sixers right now because you kind of had a really intriguing pick fall into your lap.
Your team, your town, your 76ers. Coming up, we're going to go Football Friday. I have some odds, and we're going to do over-unders on every NFL team. Who do you think is going to surprise in 2025? We'll talk about all that coming up right after this. Philly with John Marks, 2-2. We're back. All right, listen, for the past 30 years, Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia. Customers across PA, New Jersey, even Baltimore and New York City have come to Golden Nugget to find that perfect engagement ring or wedding band. Their staff is highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. And we're talking about a vast selection of engagement rings, wedding bands, high-end watches, fashion jewelry, sparkling diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. And receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Golden Nugget Jewelers, family-owned and operated right here in Philadelphia, 8th and Chestnut, downtown Philly, since 1987. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com to learn more today. goldennuggetjeweler.com. All right, Rothman Orthopedics. It's the weekend. Probably getting. It's that when I talk about guys going out and golfing. it's awkward for me because they're like I'm such like not a golfer, but I really like, this isn't a great golfing weekend, but people go out and golf and they love it. It's like, oh, and then their shoulder hurts or knee, elbow. You start to get a little bit older. What happens, right? You get aches and pains and you learn to deal with it by taking like painkillers, Motrin, ibuprofen after you play. Maybe it's a nagging injury, whatever it is, whatever you love to do. If pain is holding you back from doing it, you don't have to live with it. You don't have to live on ibuprofen. You don't have to stop doing it, right? That's what Rothman Orthopedics is here for you. So obviously, if the full spectrum of orthopedic care, Rothman, broken bones, like MRIs, bracing, all that stuff. But, and this is how it was for me. My shoulder, I'd done something to my shoulder. It wasn't severe. It wasn't serious. But over time, it didn't get better. It got worse. And it got to a point where I wasn't working out anymore because I was just like, I couldn't do anything. And after like a year, I finally said, you know what? I got to make an appointment. Made an appointment at Rothman Orthopedics. And it was so easy. One appointment, one office visit, Rothman docs, and they have a doctor. They have a team that specializes in every body part. For me, it was the shoulder. Just a couple of simple questions, a brief examination. I was diagnosed with a frozen shoulder. I was written a script for physical therapy for 6 weeks. My shoulder was back to 100%. Range of motion was back. And a couple years later, I think 3 years later now, everything is great. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY for more information and to make an appointment. You don't have to live with the pain. Get better and do the things you love to do. rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Hooah! We are back. It would be my luck that the one game that we haven't been to a Phillies game this year, and we were looking at the Wednesday day game, and I had an endocrinologist appointment. So my wife was going to like do a half day at work, and we were going to go down. And I was like, no, I had to, it's not one of these appointments you can cancel because you schedule it 6 months out. And if you cancel it, then it's like take, another 6 months. So I'm like, no, so let's go Saturday. And this time of year, you can't call it with the weather. There's pop-up thunderstorms and everything else. Yesterday was beautiful out, dry. Weather's been really good this week, hot. So then it's like so what do you do now, right? I do the same thing when I go down the shore. I watch the weather, and I'm like, oh, man, so it hasn't looked good for Saturday as the Blue Jays come into town starting tonight. Hasn't looked good for Saturday all week. So, like, honestly, the best case scenario would be it's a total rain out, and we just get the rescheduled. That's not going to happen. It's the Blue Jays, so they're going to want to get this game in. And I think it's just going to be kind of like drizzly, and maybe there'll be a rain delay or two. But yeah, so it's not, these tickets aren't cheap. I got them on the secondary market, so they weren't cheap. But we will be heading down on Kyle Schwarber bobblehead day. Yes. Are you a bobblehead collector there, Tyler Zulli?
I am not. Although I will say when I was younger, they're still up in my basement at my mom's house. We used to have you remember the McFarlanes, like the action shot? They almost look like look like action figures, but it would be like, excuse me, there's a fly flying in my house. There used to be it'd be like a guy pitching or whatever. I had a ton of them. They were in my room and then they were in my basement at my mom's house. We probably have, I don't know, close to 40 of them. Between my childhood bedroom and my basement.
Oh, is that right?
They were, yeah. It was a Christmas gift every year. It would be like, who am I getting? And it was cool because I didn't, it wasn't just Philly sports athletes. I would get, I had Randy Johnson. I had,
that's a cool one.
I had Andrew Jones, and the one with Andrew Jones was that it had like this little like stand that held him up, and he was like full extension diving.
Oh, that's cool.
Because just like on a tangent, I am like the bang the drum leader for Andrew Jones for the Hall of Fame. I am a huge Andrew Jones fan. I know that's like blasphemy to say as he was a Brave basically his entire career. But yeah, the Andrew Jones one was so cool. But I'm not a bobblehead guy, but I have a million of the McFarlanes.
Yeah, Andrew Jones underrated and should be a Hall of Famer. 1,000%. I agree.
I've been fighting that fight for 3 years now.
Yep. I think he gets in eventually. This was last year, Trey Turner. You can't say it because but when you have 3 kids, so you have 5 Trey Turner bobbleheads because well, it's like, what do I need 5? So yeah, but I do have some.
But you have to get them all, because if one of the kids doesn't get one, it's going to be a fight.
Last year we had I don't even remember what it was, but it was like a replica ring from, I don't know if it was 2008 or from, I don't know. I don't even remember what it was. So now I have 5 replica rings in my, so anyway, yeah. So I'll be there on Saturday night. So if you see me wearing a Saturday afternoon, am I going to wear the Steve Jeltz jersey? I don't know. Might be a little bit chilly.
Have you been featured in Pat Gallen's random jersey?
I have not.
Pat does that where like people
somebody had a Matt Caesar Phillies jersey that
I didn't even, you have to custom make that. There's no way. Like you have to
play for him.
You got to be his brother.
Yeah, you've went to high school with him or something like that.
Exactly.
Matt Caesar. All right, Tyler, stick with me here, because when you say like for example, the odds are the Phillies aren't winning the World Series this year. And if you take it literally, yeah, the odds are that the Phillies aren't winning the World Series this year, right? Like they're not the odds on favorite.
Sure.
But it's just kind of a throwaway lines that we say. It's just like, well, the odds are the Flyers aren't winning. The odds are the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year, because the Eagles are the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. So let me pull this up here right now. I have it on my sheet right here, and then I have some other things right here. Right now, the Eagles are plus 650, and this is the BetParx app, to win the Super Bowl. So for a $100 bet, if the Eagles were to win the Super Bowl, you would win 650. Who would you say there are 2 teams that are tied for the second shortest odds, Tyler, to win the Super Bowl next year?
I would say it's one of. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Bills, correct, plus 700, and then another AFC team.
Then probably the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, incorrect. The Ravens are plus 700.
Okay.
The Chiefs are plus 750. Interesting, right? I would have said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, they've been to what? Been to 3 in a row. Been to what? 6 in the last decade.
The last thing you saw from the Chiefs was they got their behinds whipped.
Right. I mean, and they really haven't addressed. They really haven't addressed the offensive line, and in fact, they traded Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears.
Yep. So there are 2 NFC teams that follow. One at minus plus 900, one at plus 1600. Who would they be?
Detroit probably next.
Correct.
And then I actually think it may be Washington after that.
I would have said the same thing. The 49ers plus 1,600, and then the Commanders at plus 1,700. And then the Bengals round out the top with a plus 2,000.
I know that the 49ers lost a lot of guys last year to injury. I think their window's closed.
I agree with you. Because
they were a legit championship contender for 3-4 years, even with Brock Purdy on, in his rookie year. Like, they just a solid defense, good skill position players. I just think that their window may be closing, or if it's not, having already closed.
No, I agree with you, and not that they still can't be a good team, but no, you're right. Like they had their chance to win, and they were a good team. They had their chance to win, and now it's like is McCaffrey, because you know what happened? McCaffrey was healthy, and that's not something that had happened for a while. And when the minute they traded for him, he was one of the best weapons in football again, like we had saw before he started getting injured. And once he got injured, you see how important he is to the team. And, Deebo Samuel was in his prime. Now he's gone. Ayuk was in his prime. Now he's gone. George Kittle's still good. Can he stay healthy? Right? Did you see that video of Deebo Samuel down in Washington? I meant to put it in our Slack so we could do it. Did you see it?
The one from practice?
Yes.
He's I think even the comment said the same thing. Don't mean to be rude, but he's looking a little hefty.
Yeah, he's looking a little thick. It doesn't mean he can't still be a good slot receiver, etc. But he really hasn't been the same player the last couple of years.
No, and, I mean he was such a weapon in the run game for them too. Like he was truly a weapon.
Sure was.
And I mean, like when you said a couple years ago, it was like, dude, he's gonna get paid. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. He's 1,000-yard receiver. I think he added 400 or 500 yards in the run game that year. Like, it made total sense. And then all of a sudden, a lot of drops. And then I know there was a lot of frustration with his contract, and then wanted to be traded, and then they didn't trade him, and then they finally moved him to Washington. I'll be interested to see what happens with a kind of a fresh start. And
I agree.
I think he'll be able to be used as kind of a dual threat weapon again, especially with Jaden Daniels in the run game. Like, you use those two guys and Brian Robinson, your run game should be really effective. But I'll be interested to see what happens with a fresh start.
Yeah, I think he's not going to be, I don't think he's a bust, but I don't think he's a 1,000-yard receiver like he used to be.
Probably
or
not.
anything like that. All right, one other question on the Super Bowl. I haven't mentioned the Cowboys. Where do the Cowboys, what would their odds be in winning the Super Bowl?
Plus 2,500.
Packers are plus 2,000. Rams are plus 22. Texans are plus 3,000. Still haven't gotten to the Cowboys.
Wow. Okay.
Vikings plus 3,000. Bucks plus 3,000. Bears plus 3,500. Still
Bears
no Cowboys.
ahead of them.
Which is ridiculous. Plus 4,000. Denver. You have to go all the way to plus 5,000 for a $100 bet to get the Cowboys.
So, first and foremost, I think with Dak being healthy, they're obviously better with a healthy Dak. Regardless what you think about Dak, they're better with Dak than they are with all of the slop they were running out of quarterback, late in the season. Second, I always feel like Vegas overinflates the Cowboys. And so if you think they're plus 5,000, Vegas probably puts them at plus 3,500 or plus 4,000 because they know people are going to bet on them and they'll get the money regardless because they're not winning the Super Bowl. To be plus 5,000, that tells me that A, I think Vegas believes they're not very good. B, they don't believe in Brian Schottenheimer as a first-year head coach. And C, like, they're at best the third best team in the division now.
Yeah, and no one buys them to win a Super Bowl. When you look at the over-unders, which we'll do right now quickly, over-under for the Cowboys, what do you think? This is weird, man.
So if they're plus if they're plus 5,000, I would have to bet it can't be more than like 8.5. Maybe not. Maybe 9.5.
7.5.
Really?
I do. Like, I love this. I love it. They're a better team than that, aren't they? I know Brian Schottenheimer.
Are they a 9-7 team? Or sorry, not 9-8 team?
Is this about Dak not being able to stay healthy?
It might be. It might be a Schottenheimer thing too. Like,
honestly, that feels over 7.5 feels like a lock to me. Which it's never as easy as you think it's going to be. I don't know, man. That's weird. Like you said, and I thought the same thing.
Low.
Normally, they bait people into betting the Cowboys because they know people are stupid.
Right.
Because there's so many idiot Cowboys fans out there. In this case, it's the exact opposite. It feels like they've gone too far the other way.
So which one do you feel is more likely? Do you feel like Vegas is going to get taken advantage of? Or do you think that the Cowboys legitimately might win 6 games?
Man, Vegas doesn't get taken advantage of very often.
That's what I mean.
The Cowboys. I know. Weird. It does. No, this makes me feel totally, not that I was fearing the Cowboys in this year or anything like that, but still, like, that's crazy. All right, real fast. 4 teams over under 11.5. Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens. Like I would probably only go under on the Chiefs. Maybe 11 wins.
I think I might go under on the Chiefs as well. Obviously I don't know the schedules on hand. I would
Ravens
imagine,
maybe tough division.
So the Ravens this year have Buffalo, Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, the Rams, the NFC North, and then obviously their division rivals twice, the Patriots, the Jets, the AFC East, and so it's I think I don't know what the strength of the schedule on that is, but they do play some bad teams. They'll play some good teams. I think 12-5 for Baltimore seems doable.
Yeah, I agree. With that division,
the 11.5 for the Eagles this year, like, not to say that we've talked about it plenty. They're a legitimate team. 11.5 is going to be hard to come by to get to 12-5 because their schedule is really difficult. Like,
yeah, it is.
This, there is no question in my mind. This is a playoff team, and this is a deep playoff team. Like, no doubt whatsoever. But it is a gauntlet of a schedule.
Here's how they go over. Washington isn't as good as they were last year. Over under for the Commanders, 9.5.
Seems low. Seems like
Little
Vegas
bit.
thinks they take a step back.
They would be 10-7 if they go over, which you could totally see.
Oh yeah.
Like 9-8. I don't know, man. It almost seems too easy to take the over based on how last season started. Remember this: year 2 of a quarterback. It doesn't mean that he still isn't a great young quarterback. Year 2 of the NFL quarterback, the league typically makes adjustments, and you don't have the same type of success. You're playing a more difficult schedule because you're not the last place team; you're the second place team.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. Well, listen, we'll do some more with Pat coming up after this. Pat Egan, lots to talk about with Pat. We'll touch them all, and that is straight ahead. Philly with John Marks, PHLY. All right, so let's talk about Ashley springing the savings right now. Listen, if you need new living room furniture, bedroom furniture, you need the new mattress. Right now, low prices are blooming. Spring into savings, 50% off. Living rooms, bedrooms, dining rooms, and you're having it delivered for free. And long-term, no-interest financing. Paid off over a number of years. Save on top brand mattresses, free delivery, free setup, free removal. But don't wait. Spring into savings now at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Financing is with approved credit. Minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for complete details. Hurry to Ashley. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. Hoo-ah. All right, let's talk about, all right. Listen, this is a good Bet Parks weekend, right? Philadelphia baseball back tonight. Rangers Suarez on the mound. So you have Ranger, you have Christopher Sanchez, and you have Zach Wheeler. Makes you feel better about your team when you have those three starting in a series for you. Pro Golf Open continues at Oakmont. You can bet on matchups, round leaders, performance by your favorite golfer, and more. We have the finals. How about that game last night in the Cup? Man, what a comeback by Edmonton. Pro Hoops finals and more. You can bet on everything. Player performances. How about baseball? Players hits, home runs, RBI, strikeouts, points, rebounds. For the Pro Hoops playoffs, there's always another way to win on the BetParks Sportsbook, an online casino app. The only app I would ever recommend to bet on sports and to play all of your favorite casino games right in the palm of your hand. So how about hot online slots? What about live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption and Cleopatra? You can even play live dealer. New users up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. So go to betparks.com, download the app right there. You must be 21 in PA, New Jersey, or Maryland for the BetParks app. You love to play. You play to win. You bet BetParks. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hoo-ah! We are back. Philly with John Marks. Pat's going to join us in a second. Lions 10.5 over under. 49ers 10.5. Chargers 9.5. They're kind of one of these sexy picks to take that next step under Jim Harbaugh. Rams 9.5. That's interesting. Texans 9.5. The Broncos. Yep. Odds makers expecting the Broncos to take that next step after a great rookie season from Bo Nix. As Pegan, as I like to call him in the business, Pat Egan there with us. Joining
I'll be
us
here in a second. I'm looking at a wall right now.
Yeah. Well, I told him 8:45, so that's my bad.
So you brought up the Broncos. They're one of my probably 2 or 3 teams that I think. So I was super wrong on Bo Nix. I hated Bo Nix coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought like everything I saw from Bo Nix at Auburn specifically told me this kid was going to be an insurance salesman after his college days were done.
Like Will Levis.
Yeah, well, Will Levis was terrible too.
Without the high-end skills that Levis has.
Correct. But Bo Nix has been was excellent in his rookie season. And I think the Broncos defense might be, if not the best, one of the best defenses in the NFL this year. I like John, I'm not going to say I'm picking it right now, but maybe one of my bolder takes in June is that the Broncos win the AFC West this year.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it's been so. Man, listen, that's a tough division.
It's a good, yeah. I mean, because then my other one that I really think is crazy is Vegas is 6.5. And while I don't think Vegas is this world-class team, I don't think you bring in Geno and bring in Pete Carroll to be a rebuild team.
No, they're trying to win. They're trying to reestablish and be like, hey, we're not a loser organization.
Right.
Pete Carroll can't be there forever. And Geno Smith comes in to give you a solid average to above average NFL quarterback who's not gonna poop his pants or pee down his leg.
Right.
But here's my question, because I agree with you 100%. They're going to try to run the football. Pete Carroll knows what the hell he's doing. Chip Kelly's their offensive coordinator.
Yep. He left Ohio State.
Where are they getting these wins from? If the Chargers are being looked at as an upstart this year, if the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and you just mentioned how you think that the Broncos are going to be a surprising team that could win the division, they're going to have to win pretty much every other game other than the division games. They're over under 6.5. Man, so getting to 7 wins.
They've got New England, the Colts, the Titans, the Jags, the Browns, the Giants. If you can find a way to win a majority of those games, if you can go 2-4 in your division, that's kind of your 7 right there. But I get what you're saying. The other one Futz brings up, I think the Falcons are going to hammer their 7.5 over. That division is terrible, and I think they're the best. I think they're the best team of the worst division in football.
So you think Penix can play a little bit? He did not.
It's not even necessarily that I love Penix, but I look around the rest of the league and I'm like, okay, the Saints are going to go with Tyler Shuck. The Panthers are going to be better, but they're still not nearly close enough to be good enough to compete. And then the Bucks, who probably have definitely have the best quarterback in the division. What are they like with Chris Godwin coming back from injury? Mike Evans a year older. Bucky Irving, of course, is a stud at running back. Like, I'm curious but I think the Falcons can win that division this year.
Yeah, it seems like the Saints are in full tank mode.
Oh, 100%.
And,
well, they were $7 billion over the cap for the last 10 years. Like, at some point, you gotta.
Well, yeah, get your quarterback. Get your young quarterback. The stupid move to get Derek Carr. He retires. They're lucky for that. And now they can suck. You have Kellen Moore come in, and now he can kind of regroup, rebuild, and then start with a new quarterback next year. Yeah, they're over under 4.5. Let me give you because the Giants are over under 5.5. I think the Giants are the surprise team in the division this year. And I'm not telling you that they're going to win 10 games and make the playoffs, but with Russell Wilson, who is an upgrade over what Daniel Jones is going to give you as far as consistency, and then keep an eye on their defense and their edge rushers. You have Thibodeau, you have Burns, and you have Abdul Carter. So that defense is going to be pretty good. As Pat Egan joins us right now, he writes about the Phillies and prospects, and he watches a lot of movies, but he doesn't write about that on allphly.com. Good morning, Pat.
Hello.
What's going on, man? You look great. You look great this morning.
I'm spry.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Sometimes, like when you play hockey, you'll have your hat off and you'll have like your hair back, and it looks kind of like styled. And I'll be like, you know what? Like, Pat kind of looks like a stud right now, because I can't see how tall you are. Like with me, my height hurts my overall package. But and then I look at you right now, and I don't see that same sex symbol that I see when you're the hockey player.
No, you don't. It's
or when you go to a concert. I saw you posted pictures from some concert you went to, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I can see why Pat's wife is an attractive woman. Pat's actually a good looking guy when he wants to be.
Yeah. But I don't choose to, because it's just like having them constantly come up to me it's a lot, and I have to deal with it at the Wawa and walking the dog. It's just like, I don't need that in my life.
It's tiring. I did see you because you smoke cigarettes out in front of Wawa and you drink your coffee in Delaware County. So you don't want to be pestered by the women when you do that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I eat my hoagie off the trash can like a gentleman.
Isn't that great? I've seen that so many times. No, but say, like, people, like, when I see the guy smoking the cigarette and drinking the coffee and having the time of his life at Wawa, having the time of his life, and it's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow there, Charlie. Get back in the car.
One of my like a hobby I love is to just stand outside of Wawa and ask adults to buy me cigarettes, and it's exhilarating.
It's
Love it.
I can't get enough of it. Like the hoagie off the trash cans at Elite Wawa. It's so true. God, you know what, Pat? I think that can be our next segment is you just stand outside of the Wawa before police come and escort you off and just interview people that are going in the Wawa. Because guess what happens when there's a snowstorm? Guess what they do? Let's head for the local Wawa with a camera and let's see what the people are doing. And then you get bad Philadelphia accents or South Jersey accents talking about the snow.
I don't understand why anyone ever agrees to do the, Action News NBC 10 interview because it's never good.
Well, I've done it.
Have you really?
Yeah, of course.
About what topic?
I was at a concert in 1985 at the Genesis concert. I went to see Genesis with my mom in 1985. First time I remember the smell of pot, and they interviewed me outside.
Touch.
It was the Invisible Touch tour, correct, at Veterans Stadium. And it's the first time so they interviewed me there. But then I remember there was a hot water heater blew up by my grandmother's house when I was probably like an early teen on Christmas. We went over on Christmas and it was like, boom, big explosion. So we drove over to see, and then the news was there and they're like, can we interview you? And I'm like, yeah, what am I going to say?
You say no.
No.
Well,
but what I'm saying, what am I going to say to what are they looking for me to say? To give an evaluation on a hot water heater exploding? No, I said it was terrible that it happened on Christmas. And then that was it. But they don't care what I say. They're like, oh, here you go. Let's just, whoever's here, let's interview them so I can do all they need is time. They're not looking for an Emmy from this particular thing. But anyway. All right. Well, hi, Pat. How are you? Thanks for joining me, man. I'm out of time now.
No problem. This was fun.
The Cowboys are plus 500 to win the Super Bowl this year. Plus 5,000 to win the Super Bowl this year. Not 500, plus 5,000, which is crazy. They're with the mid teams. Nobody believes in them. Is this the year the Cowboys surprise everybody, Pat Egan?
No, the best thing that happened for the Eagles is they hired Brian Schottenheimer. The biggest Nepo baby of Nepo babies in the NFL is Brian Schottenheimer. He's never been good at his job, ever. He's
as
never
a coordinator. Yeah,
he's never led an elite offense. In fact, he usually takes offenses that should be good and they suck. And they hired that guy to be the head coach. That is the ultimate Jerry Jones has lost it move. So no, man, I think that's pretty accurate.
I mean, but their over under in wins is 7.5. Is that what they're doing this year? Is this a 6-win team? Is this an 8-win team? Believe me, this is great. And I've said in previous years, no, the Cowboys will win a lot of regular season games. They'll just lose in the playoffs. So you never really fear them because there's no chance they're going to win in the playoffs. This year, it doesn't feel like they're going to do anything in the regular season.
No, I think awesome. Vegas is banking on them losing twice to the Eagles and twice to the Commanders, and then it's a matter of their other schedule and how it plays out. But they're not. I don't look at the Cowboys as some elite team or even close to it. Or they have too many holes. Dak always seems like he's up there in age. He's getting banged up a lot. I don't. I think it's pretty accurate the ranking.
Let's pivot here to the Phillies. Yeah, big 2 or 3 over the Cubs. Cubs are a good team. You still don't necessarily like what you see from the offense, but the final game of the series, they were able to get going a little bit. Hey, go figure, when they hit home runs, they score runs. But they were able to bunt for hits. Otto Kemp kind of gives them a new dynamic coming in there. At least it's a fresh face. He's going to play first base. Thank God, get Bone back at third base. But how are we feeling heading into the weekend with the series against the Blue Jays?
I feel good. Yeah, I think that the kind of fear-mongering that was going on during the losing streak, and I did a video for my YouTube channel, just breaking it down, that we think this doesn't happen every year. And you look at the golden – there we go. Sorry, my mom was calling. Horrible timing. You look at the golden age of Phillies baseball, that 2008 to 2011, you forget, they were getting mired in those losing streaks just like this current team. This is a good baseball team. They just, they got mired in a little bit of a stretch there that was bad. The Blue Jays aren't a great baseball team at all. So there's no reason why you shouldn't do the same thing. You shouldn't take 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's what with your starting pitching, 100%. And you have been the champion of FU Phillies. Stop treating Andrew Painter. Take the gloves off. Let this kid pitch. And they've started to do that a little bit, and the results have not been great. He has lost his last 2 outings. He allowed 6 runs, 8 hits in 5 innings. And he went 73 pitches. Listen, the velocity's there. I'm not worried about it. He's going up against major league guys that have played in the majors and good prospects and things like that. But it also goes to show you that, you don't have to rush him up here, especially when there's kind of a numbers game that's going on right now. And Aaron Nola I don't know if he's going to pitch this year now with his latest injury stuff, but still like Andrew Painter, very much still a prospect. And there's no reason to rush him out of AAA. You now agree with that? You've finally come to your senses, Pat?
Well, no. Well, okay. First of all, you're throwing that on me. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that vitriol. I've come to my senses. I was always with my senses. First of all, I didn't want to rush him. I just didn't like the fact that they were babying him. This was Joel Embiid getting 16 hard minutes coming out of the gate. Like, what are we doing? It didn't make sense to me. You let your thoroughbred run. You don't let your thoroughbred run, 20% of the race. That was my problem, Johnny. So yeah, they're doing great. They're letting him pitch. They don't need to rush him to majors. We don't need to see Andrew Painter this year. There's no room for him. There's none.
Really? So, I mean, why can't he pitch multiple innings out of the bullpen? Why not?
He can. He can. They won't do it.
Why can't? But why couldn't he come up in a role similar to what we've seen before? Out of I'm blanking on his name with the Rays, David Price.
Oh, David Price. Yeah.
Especially in a bullpen. Like, listen, you know what? Like, I don't want to kill a prospect. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but are you really telling me if he came up in September or August and became a 1-inning relief guy or a 2-inning relief guy that you would ruin his career? What, like, if you're worried about that, his career's ruined anyway. What are we talking about here? Take the ball and throw it, right? So this team's I don't care how many trades they make, Pat, they're gonna need some bullpen help.
That was my problem. Like what you just said was my issue with this like coddling and babying thing. Is you're right. Like they wouldn't ruin them, and it does make sense. You need a guy with stuff and high leverage stuff that can give you an inning, and he seems to have it. Whether he's struggling in AAA now or not, they won't do it because they're dead set on like when he comes up, he's a starter and he's nothing but a starter. But I don't think he's going to be pitching in September anyway. Like I think they'll shut him down at that point because of the fact they're babying him. And even though they're letting him go a little bit now, I compare it to like we literally witnessed this with Joel Embiid. We witnessed, when Joel Embiid first came out, it's like, no, you're only getting 14 minutes and that's it. And it's like, all right, is a 15th minute really going to kill him? And yeah, I'd love to see Andrew Painter up. They don't need to rush him, but you're right. Like they're going to go out there. They're going to get an outfielder like Austin Hayes. They're going to get some relief pitcher that is on an expiring contract. And that's it. That's going to be their deadline. And we're going to be sitting there watching, your boy Joe Ross pitch high leverage innings in the playoffs. And we don't need that.
Man, he looked good in that first inning before they brought him back out for a second inning. If you're watching on TV, slide on over to allphly.com because we're in overtime. And speaking of that, overtime last night in the NHL, the Oilers go down 3-0. They come back and score 3 goals in the second period. Now I wasn't watching this, but still, like what a victory. What a game. Wow.
I almost texted you in overtime and said, oh, I guarantee we talk about this knowing full well you weren't watching it.
See that?
But yeah, man, it's like this, I tweeted out at one point, like sometimes in championships, you just get 2 teams and you go like, these aren't actually the 2 best teams in whatever sport. There's no doubt these are the two best teams. And you're getting some of the best hockey we've ever seen. Like, the Oilers take the lead 4-3. They come back. They storm back. They did 4 unanswered goals. And then the Florida Panthers tied up with like 30 seconds to go. And it's just the whole overtime was back and forth. Like, it is just – it's a shame if you don't like the sport which I do understand. But man, it's like this is the best of the best, and it's awesome to watch.
No, I do. I have nothing against the sport. It's just when the Flyers aren't any good for an extended period of time, I just I'm not watching out of market NHL games. With that said, I'm doing myself a disservice as a sports fan and not tuning into this because I've heard many people say that this is an unbelievable series and it's something you really need to tune in. Look at it. Down 3-0, 4 in a row, blow the lead, and then they win in overtime. Yeah, on the road. On the road in a game that puts them down 3-1 in the series, and they go down 3-0, which is incredible to come out. And Bob's in another cup final. I mean, all right, listen, I got to come over or something and watch the game. We got to like FaceTime or something and watch the game together. So you hold me accountable to watch it.
I know where you live. I don't mind popping by.
You don't know where I live.
I do. I play at the rink near your place, like 10 minutes away. I'll pop on by. I'll bring a pretzel tray. We'll have fun.
If you bring a pretzel tray, I'll give you my address for sure.
I know where you live. I've been to your house before.
You have not been to my house. You're at my old house. I've moved.
What? You moved? And you
I moved in 2018. Yes, I've moved in 2018. Yes.
Thought we were close.
I've been married 11 years now, Pat. You were at my house. You were nice enough to dog sit when we got married. That was 11 years ago, dude.
I was cordially invited to watch the dog.
To watch the dog, correct. Not to my wedding. I don't know why you weren't invited to the wedding. I guess because I needed a dog sitter, and you were.
You know what? It was a better opportunity to just watch the dog because you paid me for that.
It certainly was. All right, but by the way, how do we follow your? Because if you don't know this, Pat is like he's the modern day Gene Siskel and Robert Ebert, and if you don't know what that means, I don't know what to tell you. He's a movie reviewer, and he's a very popular one. So how do we find all the stuff you do on YouTube?
So if you type, first of all, if you type Pat Egan, you'll find the sports page. And then if you just type in the recaps, not a real creative name, but if you type the recaps, you'll find like the movie and TV show stuff.
Yeah, you don't need you don't need to be creative. The recaps works well. You know what? We a friend said, why don't you try watching it with your kids? Because we started doing it and they love it. We started watching Full House from the first episode just this week. And the kids are watching, the kids like it and they're watching it. So I think we're like 4 episodes in, and 23 minutes. So they go very quickly. They're pretty much non-offensive. Uncle Jesse does do some kissing, which is, a little bit too much. Yeah. But you know what the problem is? All of Uncle Joey's impressions, the kids have no idea what he's doing. Cause it's Bill Cosby, it's Popeye, it's Fred Flintstone. It like literally I'm having to explain the impression and then I'm like, well, do you want to watch the Flintstones? It's like, but that was meant for adults. Yeah, that was meant for adults back in the day.
Yeah, I started forcing my kid to watch the stuff that I watched when I was a kid, and he does like the stuff. He does. It would be tough for me to watch Full House because I was such a big Full House kid. But knowing now that Jagged Little Pill was written about the dude yelling, "Cut it out!" It's just awkward for me.
I thought the same thing when I was watching Uncle Joey, and like the other thing that throws him in a loop, the live studio audience. My middle girl goes, "Who's laughing and why?" And then I'm trying to explain how, and my wife's like, "Well, it's called a sitcom," and they're looking at us like, "What are you guys talking about?" And it's like, so what they used to do is they used to film these TV shows in front of a live studio audience. They still don't know what I mean. I'm like, all right, so think about your dance recital on a smaller scale. They would film the TV show on a stage with a set, and they still don't really understand it. But I'm like, yeah, like people are watching it live. They're performing live, and they're like, oh. Because you know what these freaking kids do? We have a pool. We have a membership to a pool, and believe me, it's inexpensive. It's a no frills pool. When we walk in and they're like, "What's your name?" Every single one of these young kids that work there, they're like this, and they're watching TikTok videos. That's all they do. They're just like literally, their minds are so burnt on just watching these random freaking nonsense TikTok videos. And I'm like to them, you ain't doing that. You're not going to sit here and watch YouTube all day. You're going to watch Full House.
Yep. You're going to be indoctrinated into the 23-minute drama. You're going to be laughing along with the audience. I'm with you. I mean, it's gotten to the point where like we're just as a society where we're so instant gratification that like if you do go on TikTok or Instagram, if the video is like too long for you,
it's more than 20 seconds.
Yeah. 30, you hold it down and you do 2 times the speed to figure out what's going on in it. And I'm guilty of it too.
Oh, you are? So your brain is also is damaged? Because and this is what when you go into like a Starbucks or a bank or something like that, or in an elevator, what do you see people doing when they're waiting in line or you get in the elevator?
I don't know why I'm getting all this call.
Right to the phone.
Immediately. Right, and I do the same thing because I don't like the awkwardness of being in an elevator with people and just staring straight ahead.
Right.
So I'll sit there and act like I'm on Twitter or something. When
right.
I'm not,
you go to the scroll. Yeah, you go to the scroll and you just scroll. You're not even looking at it. You're just scrolling. It's like it's like a pacifier for an adult.
Absolutely.
Is what it is, as opposed to like I'll go in the line. Like, you know, elevator's a little bit different because it is awkward. But you know, here's the other thing you could do. How you doing? That's what small talk was always for.
But like
you do weather talk. Nice weather out. Pretty hot out there today.
You're the weirdo if you do that. Like I got in the elevator with a girl in my building. She was gorgeous. And I would have liked to ask her, how are you? But instead, I don't want to be the creep in the building. So I just went to the scroll. You know?
Right. You go to the scroll. You don't even know what you're looking at. You're just like literally your mind's so damaged. If it's unoccupied, if your brain isn't occupied for 5 seconds, you don't know what to do. And that's what this has done. Everybody's the same way. You can't just sit there without looking at your phone, wait to come up at Starbucks and order your latte. Well, actually, you use the app anyway, so I wouldn't even stand in line.
Dude, I was at Wawa waiting for my hoagie that I was going to eat on the trash can to bring it all full circle.
And then smoke the cigarette afterwards.
Yeah, and I was scrolling and whatever, and I got to the end of, Twitter or whatever, my timeline, and I was like, instead of going on their app, I'm going to stare at the person making my food. And I did that. I stood there and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of nice. This is enjoyable. I'm just going to, peek around my surroundings. And it was weird though, but I did it.
Like the old days.
Exactly. Like a society.
Yep. Good job. All right, buddy. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you.
All right. See you, Johnny.
All right. There he is, Egan. Let's end it because I know Tyler has a live show today, but we also started a little bit late, so I wanted to get at least an hour. Let's go to our stat of the week. And to do that, listen, we have a big budget on Philly with John Marks. And in the budget is our stats and analytics professional. His name is Daulton the Intern. Daulton, good morning.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing fine. So for my stat today, I'll be talking about Antoine Powell-Rolland, a guy that you might not hear about early on the season, but I feel like he can make an impact later in the season. He was the Eagles' 6th-round pick, and last year in college, he had 16 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 19 tackles for loss, 48 pressures, 25 hurries, 9 QB hits, and he had a pressure rate of 15%.
Who is this?
Antoine Powell-Rolland.
From Virginia Tech. How the hell did he slip to the 6th round is my question.
That's what I was wondering when I saw it when he was picked. I was like, he had 16 sacks, and even the year prior, he had 9.5 sacks.
Normally, you're the first pick in the draft or a top 5 pick. So he went to Virginia Tech. It's not like he played. Where did Jalix Hunt, who was a safety when he started college? At least you could see that where it's like small school. He slides a little bit. Wow. All right. So you would think that he's more or less, and he probably is, he's fighting for his roster life. Dude, good pull by you, man. I didn't even look at his stats. I was just like, oh, 6th round draft pick? Cool.
Yeah.
If he makes it, he makes it.
This might be the pick that, we could be looking at down the line saying, wow, Howie, you actually, this is a guy no other team wanted. He went all the way to the 6th round, and, Howie did a great job with this one.
Yeah, and Tyler, if you pop up ribs for lunch, he's absolutely right. The measurables. He may be slow, short arms, get the little which matters because it's like when you look at an offensive lineman, a tackle, if they have shorter arms, they're not looked at as a tackle. Like Campbell's looked at maybe more of a guard because he doesn't have the longer arms or whatever. So whatever. Good stuff. Daulton, excellent stat of the week. We'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Talk to you next week.
All right, buddy. Tyler Zulli, PHLY Phillies. Now, do you put on like different clothes because you go from one personality, the Tyler Zulli personality where he's they're talking about all sports, into the Tyler Zulli that's the Phillies expert? Or you?
No, it's just it's simply to have a little bit of a change, because I do that almost every show. I've noticed that. I'm like, I got this. Plus, it was freezing in my so I'm doing this in my bedroom, and it was freezing in here this morning. So I put the thin jacket on, and then it gets really warm because the sun faces the window, so the sun just like beats in on the window the whole time.
Right.
So I'll probably go t-shirt for the Philly show at 1:00.
Yeah, you'll have to do that. I actually, it's an ongoing battle. I have one of the thermostats that you can control from your phone. I don't even know which one it is, but so I don't have the password for it, and I can't get the password because my wife never remembers passwords for anything. So like, I want to be out. She sets it to 69 degrees overnight, and then I wake up in the morning and the house is cold, and I'm like, oh, so we're running the air conditioner at 69 degrees in the middle of the night when it already gets cool. Gee, I wonder why our electric bill is so high. Like, geez. It's unbelievable. Anyway, what do we got coming up on the PHLY Philly show today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't play yesterday. We'll do a recap of the Cubs series, preview of the Blue Jays series, talk a little bit about the Jesus Luzardo tipping pitches thing, because obviously it was very, very real. Pitching Ninja did an awesome job of breaking it down. So we'll do a little bit of that, and then and then we'll have some fun as we get ready for this weekend.
Can't wait. Everybody enjoy. We'll talk to you.
Hey, John, happy Father's Day, by the way.
Oh, happy Father's Day to you. You know why I forget? Because it's meant for me. And you know what I mean? Like when it's Mother's Day for somebody else, you're so worried about doing it for somebody else. With me, I don't even, whatever.
Yeah, I genuinely, I don't think we have any plans. Like, if my wife asks, like, can I take a nap? You know what I mean? Like, that may be it. But you're right. When you start planning for somebody else, you're like, oh, I got to stay on top of things. But it's for you. You're like, do I do anything? What do I do? It's like Ricky Bobby. What do I do with my hands?
Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And we'll talk to you on Monday at 8 a.m. Have a good weekend. Slide on over to Anthony. He's live right now. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.